An outbreak of severe weather is expected today, and there's really no way to avoid it. We're going to see large to violent tornadoes, giant hail possible, and destructive winds in excess of 75 miles per hour. And it doesn't end today. More severe weather is in the picture tomorrow, and Sunday, and Monday, and Tuesday, and on and on. So we're going to look at all of that coming right up here. This is Cold Rain's Weather World, where we've got all the weather, and it starts right now. Well, we've made it to the end of another work week. It is Friday, May the 16th, and it is ending with a bang. We've got big severe weather out there. We've got severe weather out there this morning. We've got a big threat of an outbreak coming up this afternoon, and it doesn't end there. Tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and on. We've got severe weather as far as the eye can see, folks, and so we're going to get into all of that. This is Cold Rain's Weather World, and I want to thank you for joining me today and helping to make this one of the fastest growing new weather shows on the internet, where we've got all the weather, and we've got a lot of it to get into today. And we're going to start, as we always do, by testing your weather IQ. And with the solar cycle that we're in and the sun waking up, I wanted to ask a question that was potentially related to that. So here it is. The Little Ice Age. Back in the Little Ice Age, a European river famously froze, and they had what was called frost fairs, little tents and booths and little festivals on that particular river. What was it? Was it the River Thames, the Danube, the Rhine, or the Seine? Okay? If you know the answer, type it in the comment section. If you don't, just wait till the end of the show, and I will let you know what it is. And then you can go and tell all your friends what it was, and you can send them back over to Cold Rain's Weather World so they can get their IQ tested also. All right, so we're going to get right into the severe weather threat because we've got a lot to talk about. The radar is lighting up this morning with thunderstorms, and you can see some of that reflected on the satellite imagery this morning. We've got a large area of cloud streaming in from Texas all the way up in New England, and some rain is falling out of some of those clouds. In fact, thunderstorms are occurring back from Arkansas into just right on the Kentucky-Indiana border, also moving through New York State and Pennsylvania as well, with a line of convection up there. This big swirl in the plains is our low pressure system. This is helping to kick off the severe weather threat over the next day or two, and this will gradually move east, strengthen, bringing all kinds of weather hazards as it does so, and then more activity moving into the Pacific Northwest. And you can see all that on the satellite imagery very, very easily. Looking at the radar imagery, there it is, big rain shield around that low pressure system. Yeah, it's raining all the way back from Canada into Pennsylvania, and so we're going to see that rain continue through the morning here. It'll dissipate eventually as this system works off to the east. And this system, this little wave of energy in the mid-levels of the atmosphere is sparking showers and thunderstorms from Arkansas to Kentucky. As I said before, a severe thunderstorm watch is sitting here, and some of these have prompted severe thunderstorm warnings. And then we've got a little bit of shower activity out in the Intermountain West out here as well. Temperatures this afternoon, cool in the west under the influence of that trough with northwesterly winds. San Joaquin Valley, the desert southwest, Mojave Desert, areas like that going to be soaring up into the 80s and 90s. 80s across much of the country with the exception of New England, stretching all the way into the Great Lakes. 90s down toward the south, with hundreds down in Texas, where we're going to see heat, or we see heat advisories in place with heat indexes approaching 110 down there. Cool tonight in the northern third of the country, northwestern third of the country, and then we have a little boundary here in the middle where it's in the 50s, close to 60, and then muggy and warm in the southeast tonight as we see lows dipping down into the 60s and even close to 70, in some areas close to 80 along the southern border. So that is our temperature outlook for today. Now, pivoting over to see what's actually going on out there right now in terms of our hazards. Got a severe thunderstorm watch. These are up for Kentucky and portions of Illinois, Tennessee, and Arkansas and Missouri. And so you see the line of thunderstorms that we saw before. That's what's prompting all of this. Big area of wind advisories and high wind warnings up in the upper plains, where you guys are going to gust up here. Bismarck, Fargo, all of those areas up here are going to be gusting into the 40s and 50s. Places like Pierre and Rapid City, South Dakota, getting on down in here into Norfolk, close to Lincoln, not quite into Lincoln, but just north of there. Gusts could potentially be over 70 miles per hour. So tie down those trampolines, folks. Get those lawn chairs up. Put the trash cans away. Things are going to blow around in a big way. These are gradient winds as this storm system strengthens. That's what we see happen oftentimes with these big, strong, low pressure systems, gradient winds outside of thunderstorms even. So we're going to see that occur today. The surface map, we've got a big, big warm sector stretching all the way up into the Great Lakes. General shower and thunderstorm activity is possible anywhere from North and South Dakota, all through the New England area, back down into central Texas, including Dallas, Fort Worth. Of course, the main focus for severe weather is going to be in the mid-Mississippi into the Ohio, Tennessee valleys, over into the lower mid-Atlantic, with a flooding threat potentially here centered on Kentucky, Tennessee, parts of West Virginia, Ohio, southern Indiana, for places where they've seen a lot of rain here. Soils are saturated, and several inches of rain could fall, 2 or 3 inches with these repeated rounds of thunderstorms. Going to be very heavy rain with these. But the big story is the severe weather threat, and we're going to get on a better display to see that. And there it is. Moderate risk of severe weather. This is a level 4 out of 5, and this is centered here in just basically around St. Louis, all the way down in here close to Pine Bluff, Union City. Paducah is included in this, Gary, Indiana, in the moderate risk, but anywhere essentially from close to Little Rock all the way up to St. Louis, Columbus, Ohio, back into Charleston, West Virginia, down to Nashville. Anywhere in that enhanced risk area or moderate risk area, you can be sure that you are going to see severe weather. Almost everybody in here is going to see strong thunderstorms and many wind. I expect many wind reports to come out of this. We're going to see these line segments develop later on today, and they're going to blow through in a bowing fashion, bringing strong winds. The environment is ripe for strong tornadoes too, potentially a violent tornado or two with some of these long track supercells if some of those remain discrete. So that's what we're looking at today. There's your tornado threat. 15% is maximized in that moderate area. And review this again. Let me review this again with you. 15% doesn't mean 15% chance of seeing a tornado at your house. It means a 15% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of your house. Okay, so I want you to make sure you understand that when you see these probabilities. This hatched area where it's kind of these little black hatches in here, these are, this means significant tornadoes are possible, EF2s or higher. So that's what's going on with the tornado threat. Wind threat's even higher than that. A big probability, or a big area of 45% probabilities of strong winds, and even a hatched area that's greater than that, surrounding that with a 30% probability. And this means gusts over 70 miles per hour. Okay, so environment is really unstable today. Wind energy is available in spades, and we've got spin in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is wanting to turn, so supercell development, large hail is going to be a threat too, all the way back from Dallas up into Indianapolis and places like that. You guys are going to see the potential for very large hail, 2 to 4 inch hail. So it's going to be an active severe weather day. It's going to start around midday. It's going to continue through the night as these convective systems organize and move on through Tennessee, and then potentially into North Carolina and northern Alabama and northern Mississippi, potentially even into northern Georgia too. So got to pay attention today, folks. Stay weather aware, have multiple ways to receive your weather alerts, and just stay on guard for what's going on. Cape, thunderstorm fuel this afternoon, really going to get strong as we go through the day. Look at this. This is this morning as we work through the day. We're seeing values here, 3,000, 4,000, even close to 5,000 in spots. That's really strong instability for this area. And it is going to, going to set the stage for explosive thunderstorm development as we get through the afternoon, as these things start to kick off. And you can see as we go into the evening hours that Cape will abate a bit. But there's still plenty of fuel here as thunderstorms work through, so it's not going to diminish completely. We've got strong southwesterly winds. All of this flow out ahead of this storm system that's sitting up here in the plains. It's just pulling moisture northward, and that's what we're seeing. And even though we've got thunderstorms out there this morning, that moisture is going to continue to be pulled northward, and we're going to see Cape continue to replenish itself through the day. Okay, so Looking at 850 millibar winds, we've got strong mid-level winds coming in. That's going to help create wind shear in the environment. We've also got a strong jet that's going to take place. Look at this as it strengthens this afternoon. This is around 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock East Coast time. We see a big 50-knot jet working in here in the low levels. That's going to help organize those thunderstorms into bowing and line segments, and they're going to sweep through, bringing destructive winds potentially in excess of 75 miles per hour. So we could see some reports of 80, even 90 mile per hour winds with some of these bowing segments. Strong tornadoes are possible. Supercells are going to develop. There's going to be a lot of spin in the atmosphere, as I said. We're going to see thunderstorms grow very, very tall rapidly. And as these cells mature and move into a favorable environment, we're going to see some of them produce tornadoes, and some of those tornadoes are going to be strong. And you can tell by this STP, this is the significant tornado parameter. Don't necessarily focus on the numbers here, but where you see these brighter colors over Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, look at this. This just explodes over the evening as the environment becomes more and more favorable for tornadic activity. Those supercells are going to make use of all of that spin, and look, as this just rolls through the evening hours, we're going to see some of those supercells produce strong to potentially violent tornadoes. EF3s, EF4s, not out of the question today. So really got to do a good job paying attention and watching. And if you hear a warning, know what to do, have a plan. Go ahead and get that plan in place. Here is the European model in terms of its prediction of what's going on today. So we get in here to mid-afternoon. This is around lunchtime. Look at this. Storms breaking out in Arkansas, near Fayetteville, up here in Missouri as well. Tennessee, we're still seeing some storm activity here in Tennessee and Kentucky and Ohio, up here in Iowa and into near Chicago in Illinois. But look, this just explodes. As these things get going, this cape is going to be so strong, it's just going to blow these things up quickly. Look, we've got big thunderstorm activity already producing hail, probably damaging wind gusts, potentially tornadoes. And eventually, look, see how this organizes into several of these little clusters, these bowing segments. This is indicative of wind damage when you start to see signals like this on the future radar. And so this is, again, this is lightning display, but you can see how intense the lightning is. And eventually everything coalesces through the evening into a big line segment that will dissipate as nighttime cooling takes place. But it's possible that some of this activity could survive into North Carolina too. Sometimes that happens and the models don't really see that all that well, but looking at, as we go over tonight, see several rounds of severe weather, another round coming in through the wee hours of the morning. So even though the sun goes down, the severe weather threats are going to remain high, folks. So pay attention through the night. Keep your weather radios on. Tomorrow, a little bit better. We've got a risk of thunderstorms down here from Texas into Oklahoma, Arkansas, and then over across the eastern seaboard, northern mid-Atlantic, essentially from Ithaca down here into Raleigh and to the east of there. So that's where we're looking at the severe weather threat tomorrow. Hail and tornado, basically wind and hail are going to be the primary threats, with significant hail back here over the south central plain area. Tornadoes, not quite as much, but we do have a slight risk of tornadoes down here in Texas. And again, 2% chance, so not as great a threat tomorrow. So things settle down a little bit tomorrow, though we're not out of the woods. And I do expect some of these areas to see severe weather in terms of wind and hail being the primary threats. But a tornado or two, not out of the question tomorrow. And then as we get on out into Sunday, look what happens. Another enhanced risk, level 3 back here in Kansas. So we're going to see the severe weather threat continue over the next few days. This system up in the Great Lakes is going to move out. Okay, that's going to get out of our hair, drag the cold front through. But a new system's coming into the west, and we'll take a look at that. But even out into day 4, this is Monday, we've got a 30% risk. This would be an enhanced risk if it was in the day 3 period, but they've just outlined, the SPC's outlined Oklahoma here for an enhanced risk or level 3 risk already. We're looking at Monday into Tuesday. That threat shifts east a little bit to cover Missouri back into Arkansas again. And then we get on into Tuesday, and that's pretty much it. Wednesday, probabilities are a little bit too low. There could be some severe weather. The area is just not well defined yet. So that's what's going on. We've got an active pattern. If you think it's been an active spring, it's not your imagination. We're somewhere in the neighborhood 400, 500, 600, 700 tornadoes already the number is not exact because they have to go and assess these, and those assessments will continue, and we'll know the numbers as they continue to assess those damages, the damage, and put all those numbers together. And so, but in any event, this is one of the most active tornado seasons in the last 10 to 15 years. So we're seeing a lot of severe weather this spring. So it's not your imagination. What's driving a lot of this coming up over the next few days is the pattern. And one of the things that we look for when we look for severe weather events are these big negative tilted troughs and these strong low pressure systems. And we're looking at 500 millibars. This is our height anomaly map. So blues, the darker the blue, the more negative that anomaly is. The brighter the orange, for example, the more positive that anomaly is away from normal. So these are pressure or heights that are deviating from normal. And what this shows us is systems in the mid levels that create systems in the low levels. Okay, so we're seeing this big blue anomaly move through the Great Lakes. It's creating a surface low, and that's driving the severe weather. All of this wind shear that it's creating, all of this lift out ahead of it, we're seeing severe weather. Look what's happening though as we get on into Saturday morning. Another system moving into the west. System number one is riding through New England, getting out of the picture eventually, but we've got another big trough. When you see another big trough swinging into the west, big warm sector out ahead of it, southwesterly flow, going to pull in some moisture out of the Gulf, set the stage for another severe weather outbreak as we get into Monday, into Tuesday, into potentially Wednesday over the southeast. And look at that thing. It just sort of crawls through the east and eventually sets up a trough in the east, and that will turn the east cool. Get these big oranges out west. That'll turn the west warm as we get later on into next week. So that's what's going on there. Looking at the surface map for tomorrow, there's our severe weather threat back in Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, up and down the eastern seaboard tomorrow, as well as that cold front starts to approach and the warm sector sets up here over the eastern seaboard. But we could see general showers and thunderstorms through the lower plains, lower Mississippi Valley, back up the eastern seaboard into New England, little snow working into the higher elevations out west, and then looking on out into Sunday. Heavier rain potentially out here in Missouri and Arkansas, back to our severe weather threat in Kansas and Oklahoma, down into Texas again, as that new system starts to get its act together, bringing showers and thunderstorms through the plains into the southeast. And system number one is pulling out, but it's doing so as it, or bringing showers and thunderstorms to New England as it does so. So a little bit of a rough weekend, folks, as we go through the next couple of days. So we're going to see a lot of active weather over the course of the weekend. If you've got weekend plans, stay tuned, pay attention to what's going on, and keep aware and abreast of what's happening. So looking at highs for Saturday, cooler across the north as that system moves through. We're starting to see some cooling in the Great Lakes, 40s and 50s, 60s up here, 70s, 80s, and 90s across the south. So much of the south, basically bisecting the country, is going to be warm and warmer than normal, cooler than normal up in New England. And then as we go into Sunday, just to give you an idea for the highs on Sunday too, much the same, a little cooler as this trough starts to form out west. We'll see those snow levels maybe rise up to around 8,000 feet out there. So you can see a little bit of snow there. Cool across the north, cooler than average, with 50s and 60s, 70s in the middle of the country, and then 80s and 90s. Going to be a warm weekend in the southeast with potentially stormy weather in spots. 6 to 10 days, so May the 21st through the 25th, cooler than average. Our signal for cooler than average is up here in the northeast quadrant of the country. Southwest quadrant of the country, above average. Near normal in Alaska, above normal in Hawaii. Above normal precipitation along the east coast, near normal across the middle of the country, below normal across the west, and then above normal in Hawaii and Alaska as well. So that is your long range outlook. And then last couple things, there's no volcano activity to report that I've seen, so not much going on in that area. No need to show it. But here in the earthquake area, we area of our conversation, we see saw a few of these out here in the U.S. yesterday. We had a couple of spots of 2 and 3 magnitude earthquakes. We only see one today out here in California, magnitude 2.5. I doubt many people felt that, but we've got a 4.1 down here in Mexico. I bet some people probably felt that, a couple more here in the Middle East. but nothing big. Looking at the solar activity, there's our coronal hole turning in. We've got sunspot activity as well. So they've released a few solar flares that's turning towards us. Nothing going on with that right now, but we're going to keep our eyes on it. This coronal hole will send out a wind stream, potentially increasing aurora activity as we go through the next couple of days. You can see that possibility start to grow somewhat as we get on into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, things like that. And the view line probably comes south as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. And folks, that is our show today. It was rapid fire. We did it fast and just wanted to get back here and circle up with our answer to today's IQ question. I wonder if you got this right. I didn't know this, but I saw this and I thought it would be fun to share. So which European river famously froze during the Little Ice Age? And by the way, that was in the 16, 17, 1800 time frame, allowing for frost fairs. The Thames, the Danube, the Rhine, or the Seine, and I did have to look up how to say those, by the way. And so the correct answer, if you didn't know it, is the River Thames. They had frost fairs and little booths, and it was like a little festival as that river froze. The Little Ice Age was very cold. Temperatures dropped worldwide. Famines ensued. Wars come out of famines and things like that. So it was a very unsettled time. And a lot of what caused that was attributed to solar activity as solar levels decreased. Output from the sun, decreased, and it allowed for cooling along with some other volcanic activity that took place. And, of course, that spews ash way into the atmosphere, helps to block the solar insolation and things like that. So that's what happened during the Little Ice Age. And folks, that's our show. Just wanted to say a quick happy birthday to Janet Jackson, Pierce Brosnan, Tucker Carlson, who all have birthdays today, and Margaret Ray. If you don't know who Margaret Ray is, she is no longer with us. She died at the ripe age of 60 years old. She lived from 1906 to 1966. And I bring that up because she and her husband, H.A., Hans Augusto, wrote one of the most famous children's book series, creating one of the most famous recognizable characters ever in the children's book genre. And that series and that character is Curious George. You have seen Curious George, I'm sure. If you have kids, I know you've seen it. You've seen cartoons and you've seen books. Well, they wrote originally 7 books together. Curious George takes a job. Curious George gets a medal. Curious George goes to the hospital. Curious George learns the alphabet. Couple of more they're escaping me right now, but those were my favorite books growing up and certainly enjoyed those. My son, Cold Drizzle, who, by the way, I do a couple of little short videos with. You could check those out. I did a couple of those this past weekend. He likes to do those with me. We've been doing those together, a couple of short weather videos. But in any event, his favorite is Curious George Goes to the Hospital. And I gotta say, the man with the yellow hat, they created a cool, iconic Curious George character. They also created one of the dumbest characters ever in the history of children's books. This man is dumb. He has no business owning a monkey. Every time there's a book or a story, the man turns his back. He says, "Go, Curious George, just behave yourself." And of course, Curious George doesn't. He does all this bad stuff. He gets into trouble. He creates dangerous situations. It's a terrible example, actually, for children. He's stealing money. He's stealing balloons. He's walking on telephone wires and electrical wires. He's prank calling the police station and the fire station. He's destroying department stores. He's creating chaos and havoc wherever he goes, and the man's just completely oblivious to it. And he's like, "Oh, George, you've done it again." Well, of course he did, because you're a dummy, man. You don't have any business owning a monkey, and that is my soapbox for today. But anyway, Curious George is a good children's novel, and Margaret Ray would have been, I don't know how much she would have been, and I'm not fast enough on my feet to do the math, but she was born in 1906, so I don't know, figure it out and let me know in the comment section. That's it for the day, folks. You have a great day. I hope you have a nice weekend. Stay safe out there. And as always, this is Cold Rain reminding you, if other stations run 24/7, we got you covered 48/14 right here at Cold Rain's Weather World. Take care, everybody.